Have you ever felt like you're running in place, working hard but going nowhere? Have you looked at your life and realized it looks exactly the same as it did a year ago? Do you have dreams you keep putting off because someday never comes? Have you told yourself you'll make a change next week, next month, next year, but you never do? Are you watching others move forward while you're frozen in the same patterns? Have you numbed yourself with distractions because facing your stuck situation feels too overwhelming? Do you know exactly what you should do but can't seem to make yourself do it? Have you settled for a life that's comfortable but unfulfilling because breaking free feels too hard? You're stuck, and you know it. Here's the exit. You're not alone in this paralysis. Millions of people wake up every day feeling trapped in lives they didn't choose but somehow ended up in. They're in jobs they hate but can't leave, relationships that drain them but feel too complicated to change, cities they don't want to be in but can't afford to leave, patterns they despise but can't seem to break. And every day, the gap between who they are and who they want to be gets wider. They've stopped dreaming because dreaming just makes the stuck feeling worse. They've accepted that this is it. This is life. Work, bills, routine, repeat. Until one day they wake up at 50, 60, 70 and realize they never actually lived. They just existed, stuck. The problem isn't that you don't know you're stuck. You know. You feel it every morning when you drag yourself out of bed, every Sunday night when the dread of Monday hits, every time you scroll social media and see someone doing what you wish you were doing. The problem is that knowing you're stuck doesn't get you unstuck, because being stuck isn't about lack of awareness. It's about fear, inertia, and invisible forces keeping you paralyzed. It's about the gravitational pull of comfort, even when that comfort is miserable. It's about believing the story you tell yourself about why you can't change. I'm too old. I don't have money. I have responsibilities. It's too late. I'm not qualified. These aren't reasons, they're excuses, and they're keeping you trapped. Here's what happens if nothing changes. Today, you'll go through the same motions. Tomorrow, same routine. Next week, you'll have the same conversations with yourself about making changes someday. Next month, you'll be more stuck because now you have more evidence that you can't change. And a year from now, you'll look back and realize you wasted another year. Another year of your finite life gone, spent being stuck. The dreams will be quieter. The hope will be dimmer. The voice saying, "Maybe I could," will be barely a whisper. And the worst part, you'll have no one to blame but yourself, because you knew you were stuck, and you chose to stay anyway. Here's what they don't tell you about being stuck. It's comfortable, not happy, not fulfilling, but familiar. And the brain craves familiarity more than it craves growth. Your stuck situation, as miserable as it is predictable. You know what to expect. You've adapted to it. Moving forward requires facing uncertainty. And uncertainty is terrifying, so you stay. You tell yourself it's not that bad. You focus on the few good things. You distract yourself with work, TV, social media, food, whatever numbs the feeling. And years pass. The stuck becomes permanent, not because you couldn't get unstuck, but because you chose comfort over courage. This isn't speculation. Psychologists studying behavior change found that people will tolerate enormous amounts of unhappiness to avoid uncertainty. Researchers on decision-making confirmed that fear of loss is more powerful than desire for gain. Studies on habits show that inertia, not intention, drives most of our behavior. You're not stuck because you lack desire. You're stuck because your fear of change is stronger than your desire for something better. And until that equation flips, you'll stay exactly where you are, forever. Here's what you need to understand. Getting unstuck doesn't require massive change. It requires one decision followed by one action. Not 10 decisions, not a complete life overhaul. One decision, one action, that's it. But you have to actually make it. Not think about it, not plan for it. Not wait for the perfect moment. Make it. Today, right now. Because the exit from stuck isn't a destination, it's a door. And all you have to do is walk through it. But most people never do. They stand in front of the door, staring at it, thinking about what's on the other side, debating whether they should open it. And they never do. They stay stuck, staring at the exit, not taking it. Here's exactly what's going to happen in the next hour. Right now, you're stuck and you know it. In the first chapter, you're going to understand exactly why you're stuck, not surface reasons. The real, deep mechanisms keepy. You trapped. Then you're going to identify your specific stuck situation, because you can't exit what you can't name. Next, you'll learn the exact process for making the decision to get unstuck. This is where everything changes. After that, you'll discover what to do the day after you decide, because the decision is step 1. The action is step 2. And finally, you'll learn how to stay unstuck when your brain tries to pull you back. By the end, you'll have a complete map out of stuck. You'll know why you're trapped, how to decide to leave, what action to take, and how to keep moving forward. By the end of this audiobook, you'll have clarity on what's actually keeping you stuck. You'll have identified your specific trap. You'll have made one decision. You'll have taken one action. You'll have a plan for staying unstuck. You won't wonder what to do because you'll know exactly what to do. You won't feel paralyzed because you'll have moved. You won't be stuck because you'll have taken the exit. What you will feel is alive. Like you've been asleep and suddenly woke up. Like you've remembered you actually have agency. Like your life is yours again. And if you don't feel significantly less stuck after this hour, then I've failed you. But I won't. Because the exit is real, and it's right in front of you. So here's the real question. Not whether you'll finish this audiobook, but whether you'll actually take the exit. Will you be someone who listens and stays stuck, who understands everything but changes nothing, who knows the way out but never walks through the door? Or will you be someone who decides today, who takes one action, who looks back on this moment as the day you stopped being stuck? You get to choose, but you can't choose later. Later is how you got stuck in the first place. Later is how you stay stuck. The exit is now, right now, so what's it going to be? Another year stuck, or freedom? The door is open, walk through it. You have 1 hour, 60 minutes, less time than you'll waste scrolling today, less time than you'll spend in a meeting, but enough time to find the exit. The next hour is going to separate you from the version of yourself that accepts being stuck, that chooses comfort over growth, that stays trapped in patterns that don't serve you. You're either all in or you're out. There's no half listening. No, this is interesting, but I won't do anything. Now is when it changes. Right now, take a breath. Feel the stuck. Feel the weight of it. The frustration, the resignation, that's your current state. In 1 hour, you'll know the way out, and all you have to do is take it. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Why You're Stuck. Let's start with the truth. You're stuck because some part of you wants to be stuck. I know that's hard to hear. You don't consciously want this. But unconsciously, staying stuck serves you somehow. It protects you from something. And until you understand what that something is, you can't get unstuck. So let's dig in. What does being stuck protect you from? Failure. If you never try, you can never fail. As long as you're stuck, you don't have to test yourself. You don't have to find out if you're actually capable. You can live in the fantasy of "I could if I wanted to." But you never have to face the reality of trying and failing. Being stuck protects your ego. It also protects you from success. Sounds backward, but it's true. Success means change. New responsibilities, new expectations, new version of yourself, and that's terrifying. What if you can't handle it? What if success reveals that you're not who you thought you were? What if achieving the dream removes the excuse? Right now, you can tell yourself you'd be happy if only you had X, but what if you get X and you're still unhappy? Then you're forced to confront that the problem might be you, not your circumstances. Being stuck delays that confrontation. Being stuck also protects you from judgment. If you stay where you are, you know what people think of you. It's predictable, but if you try to change, people will have opinions. They'll judge your choices. They'll question your decisions. They'll tell you you're crazy, irresponsible, foolish. And that judgment feels unbearable. So you stay where you are, where it's safe, where people have already decided what they think of you and you don't have to face new judgment. Being stuck protects you from other people's reactions. Now let's talk about the comfort of familiar misery. Your stuck situation might be terrible, but it's familiar terrible. You know this pain, you've adapted to it. You've built coping mechanisms. Moving forward means facing unknown pain. And the unknown is always scarier than the known, even when the known is awful. This is why people stay in terrible jobs, toxic relationships, cities they hate. Not because these situations are good, because they're familiar. And the brain values familiar over good. This is the comfort trap, and it's incredibly powerful. Let's address inertia. Objects at rest stay at rest. You've been stuck for months or years. You've built an entire life around being stuck. Routines, habits, identities, relationships, all based on your current stuck state. Changing requires disrupting all of that, and disruption is hard. It takes energy. It creates chaos temporarily. Your brain resists disruption. It wants homeostasis, balance, stability, even if that stability is miserable, so it keeps you stuck through inertia. You're not actively choosing to stay. You're just not generating enough force to move. And without force, inertia wins. Now the story you tell yourself. Everyone who's stuck has a story about why they can't get unstuck. I'm too old. I don't have money. I have kids. I have debt. I don't have the right education. It's too late. I'm not talented enough. These stories feel true. They feel like facts, but they're not facts. They're interpretations, stories you've chosen to believe because they justify staying stuck. And as long as you believe the story, you won't leave. The story is your prison guard. And you're both the prisoner and the guard. Let's talk about the sunk cost fallacy. You've already invested so much in your stuck situation. Years in this career, years in this relationship, years in this city. So much time, energy, money invested. Walking away feels like wasting all that investment, so you stay trying to justify the sunk cost. But here's the reality. The cost is already sunk. It's gone. Staying doesn't get it back. It just adds more cost, more years wasted. The rational move is to cut your losses and move forward. But emotion overrides rationality, and you stay stuck. throwing good years after bad, trying to make the sunk cost worth it. Now let's address decision fatigue and analysis paralysis. Maybe you want to get unstuck, but you don't know how. There are too many options, too many possible paths, and you can't decide which one is right. So you think and analyze and weigh options and research and never actually decide, because deciding means committing, and committing means you might choose wrong. So you stay in perpetual analysis, which is really just another form of stuck. You're not moving forward. You're just thinking about moving forward forever. Here's another piece: identity. You've identified as stuck for so long that it's become who you are. I'm the person who hates their job but can't leave. I'm the person who dreams but never does. This identity is limiting, but it's also safe. It tells you who you are. Changing means losing that identity. And losing identity, even a limiting one, creates existential anxiety. Who am I if I'm not stuck? This question is so uncomfortable that you'd rather stay stuck than face it. Your stuck identity protects you from the uncertainty of becoming someone new. Let's talk about the committee in your head. Every time you think about getting unstuck, voices appear: the critic, "You can't do this, you'll fail"; the realist, "Be practical, this won't work"; the protector, "It's too risky, stay safe"; the comparison voice, "Other people can do this, but not you." These voices feel like truth, but they're just thoughts, old programming, past experiences, internalized criticism. And as long as you listen to the committee, you'll stay stuck. Because the committee's job is to keep you safe, and safe means stuck. Finally, the illusion of control. You might think you're stuck because external circumstances are controlling you: your boss, your partner, your finances, your location. But here's the hard truth: you're stuck because you're choosing to be stuck. Not consciously, not happily, but you're making daily choices that keep you here. You're choosing not to look for a new job, not to have the hard conversation, not to make the plan, not to take the risk. Blaming external circumstances feels better than taking responsibility. But responsibility is where power lives. You can't change what you don't own. And as long as you believe you're stuck because of external forces, you'll stay stuck, because you've given your power away. So why are you really stuck? Because being stuck protects you from failure, success, and judgment. Because familiar misery feels safer than unknown possibility. Because inertia is powerful and you're not generating enough force to overcome it. Because you believe a story about why you can't change. Because you're stuck in sunk cost thinking. Because you're paralyzed by options. Because your identity is wrapped up in being stuck. Because the voices in your head keep you small. Because you've given your power to external circumstances. These are the real reasons, not the story you tell yourself. And once you see the real reasons, you can start addressing them. In the next chapter, we're going to identify your specific stuck situation. Chapter 2: Naming Your Stuck. You understand why people get stuck. Now let's identify your specific stuck situation. Because you can't exit what you can't name, let's start simple. Where do you feel most stuck? Career, relationship, location, financial situation, health, creative pursuits, friendships, personal growth. Most people are stuck in multiple areas, but there's usually one that feels heaviest. One that you think about most. One that creates the most pain or frustration. That's your primary stuck. Name it right now. Say it out loud if you can, or write it down. Make it concrete, not vague, specific. I'm stuck in a job I hate. I'm stuck in a relationship that's draining me. I'm stuck in a city I don't want to be in. Name it. Now, how long have you been stuck here? Months, years, decades? Knowing the timeline matters because it tells you how entrenched the pattern is. If you've been stuck for 6 months, the inertia is lighter. If you've been stuck for 10 years, the inertia is massive. Neither is better or worse. But knowing the timeline helps you understand what you're up against. How long? Be honest. Don't minimize it. Don't tell yourself it hasn't been that long. Count the years. Feel the weight of how much time you've already lost to being stuck. Let's identify what staying stuck is costing you. Not just time, what else? Your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, your finances, your self-respect, your dreams. Make a list. What is this stuck situation actually costing you every day you stay? Be brutal, don't sugarcoat it. The cost is real and it's accumulating. Every day you stay is another day of paying that cost. Write it down, see it, feel it. This isn't to make you feel bad. It's to make the pain of staying greater than the fear of leaving. Because until staying hurts more than leaving, you won't leave. Now, what would your life look like if you weren't stuck? Don't think about how to get there, just imagine. If you woke up tomorrow and the stuck situation was resolved, what would be different? How would you feel? What would you do? Where would you be? Who would you be with? Let yourself imagine it fully, not as a fantasy, as a possibility. This is important because your brain needs a target. It needs to know what you're moving toward. Vague, I want to be happy, doesn't work. Specific, I want to wake up excited about my work, does. Paint the picture. What does unstuck look like for you? Let's identify the fear keeping you stuck. What are you actually afraid of if you leave this stuck situation? Be specific. Are you afraid of failure, of judgment, of the unknown, of losing what little you have, of being alone, of finding out you're not capable? Name the fear, say it out loud, write it down. Most fears feel smaller once they're named. In the dark, they're monsters. In the light, they're manageable obstacles. What's your specific fear? And is it rational? Often our biggest fears are based on worst-case scenarios that are unlikely to happen, but we treat them as certainties. Now, what's the story you tell yourself about why you can't leave? I'm too old. I don't have money. I have responsibilities. It's too risky. What's your particular version of this story? Write it down, look at it. Is it actually true, or is it a belief you've chosen? Often these stories contain partial truth but are used as absolute barriers. I have responsibilities might be true, but does that mean you can never change anything? Or does it mean change needs to be planned differently? Challenge your story. What if it's not true? What if it's just the excuse you've been using to avoid the fear? Let's identify what you're getting from being stuck. This feels counterintuitive, but we don't stay in situations that give us nothing. Even miserable situations give us something. Maybe being stuck gives you something to complain about, an excuse for why your life isn't what you want, a way to avoid taking responsibility, a source of sympathy from others, a reason to not try. What are you getting? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about seeing the full picture. You stay because on some level staying serves you. What's the payoff? Even if it's a terrible payoff, name it. Now, the moment you knew you were stuck. There was probably a moment when you realized, when it became undeniable. What was that moment? Was it waking up dreading another day? Was it seeing someone else living the life you want? Was it a birthday that made you realize how much time has passed? Was it hitting a breaking point? What was your moment? Remember it, feel it, because that moment contains power. That moment is when you saw the truth, and that truth is still true now. You're still stuck. But now you have a choice about what to do with that knowledge. Let's identify your support system. Who in your life would support you getting unstuck? Not who would judge or discourage you. Who would actually support you? These people, crucial because getting unstuck is hard. You'll need encouragement. You'll need people who believe you can do it when you don't believe in yourself. Make a list. Who are your people? If the list is short or empty, that's important information. You might need to find new people or communities before you can move forward, because doing this alone is much harder than doing it with support. Here's an important question. What's the smallest possible step you could take toward getting unstuck? Not the full change, not the complete solution, the smallest step. One conversation, one application, one decision, one call. What's the absolute smallest movement you could make? It should be so small you can't say you can't do it. So small it feels almost too easy. That's your starting point, not the big leap, the tiny step. Because tiny steps taken consistently lead to big changes. And right now, you need to prove to yourself that you can move at all. Finally, what happens if you don't get unstuck? Fast forward 5 years. You're still here, still stuck. What does your life look like? How do you feel? What opportunities have you missed? What has staying cost you? Paint that picture too, not to torture yourself, but to feel the cost of inaction. Because the cost of staying is always higher than the cost of leaving. It just doesn't feel that way in the moment, but 5 years stuck, 10 years stuck, that's a massive cost, and it's completely avoidable. If you choose to pay it, you need to know what you're paying. So imagine it, 5 years from now, still stuck. Is that acceptable to you? You've named your stuck. You know what it's costing you. You know what unstuck looks like. You've identified the fear and the story. You know what you're getting from staying. You remember the moment you realized you were stuck. You know who supports you. You know the smallest step. And you know the cost of staying. That's clarity. And clarity is the first requirement for change. In the next chapter, we're going to make the decision to get unstuck. Chapter 3, The Decision. You've named your stuck. Now comes the hardest part. The decision, not thinking about the decision, not planning for the decision, making the decision right now, today. Let's start with what a real decision is. A real decision is not I should. It's not I want to. It's not someday I'll. A real decision is I will, with a date, a commitment, a line in the sand. I will leave this job by March 1st. I will end this relationship by the end of the month. I will move by summer, specific, dated. Non-negotiable, that's a decision. Everything else is just thinking about deciding. Here's why most people never actually decide. Because deciding feels permanent, irreversible, like you're burning bridges. And what if you're wrong? What if you regret it? So you stay in the thinking about it phase forever. But here's the truth. Not deciding is still a decision. It's the decision to stay stuck. You think you're keeping your options open. You're not. You're choosing stuck. Every day you don't decide is a day you've decided to stay. So stop pretending you haven't decided. You have. You've decided to stay. The question is whether you're going to make a different decision now. Let's talk about the point of no return. There's a moment in every change where you cross a threshold, where going back becomes harder than going forward. Most people never reach that point because they leave themselves escape routes. They hedge. They keep one foot in the old situation just in case, but hedging prevents real change. You need to burn the boats, eliminate the escape route, make going back impossible or at least harder than going forward. This sounds scary. It is scary. But it's also how you actually change. You cut off the option to retreat, and then you have no choice but to move forward. Here's how to make the decision. Not in your head, on paper. Get something to write with, write down your decision. I have decided to specific action by specific date. Sign it, date it. This is your declaration. Now it's real. It exists outside your head. You can see it, touch it. You've made it concrete, and that concreteness matters. As long as it's just a thought, it can change. Once it's written and signed, it's real. This is your commitment to yourself. Now tell someone, not everyone, not the people who will discourage you, but one person who will support you. Tell them your decision. I've decided to action by date. This creates external accountability. It makes the decision more real, and it gives you someone who will check in, who will ask how it's going, who will keep you honest when you want to back out. Choose this person carefully. It needs to be someone you trust. Someone who will support you. Someone who won't let you off the hook when it gets hard. Let's address the fear that comes with deciding. The moment you decide, fear will spike. Your brain will panic. Wait, no, we're not really doing this, right? This is too scary. Let's go back to thinking about it. This is normal, expected. Fear is not a sign you're making the wrong decision. It's a sign you're making a real decision, something that matters, something that requires courage. If there's no fear, it's not a real decision. It's a safe choice. And safe choices don't get you unstuck, so expect the fear. Welcome it. It means you're actually doing something. Here's what to do with the fear. Acknowledge it. I'm afraid, that's okay, I'm doing it anyway. Not I'm not afraid. That's denial. Not I'll do it when I'm not afraid. That's delay. I'm afraid and I'm doing it anyway. That's courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. So feel the fear, let it be there, and move forward anyway. The fear doesn't have to go away for you to act. You just have to act while afraid. Now what comes after the decision? Nothing, and that's the trap. Most people make the decision and then wait. Wait for motivation, wait for the right time, wait for circumstances to change, but the decision is just step one. Action is step two, and action has to happen immediately, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Within hours of deciding, you need to take one action, one step. Doesn't matter how small. What matters is momentum. The decision plus immediate action creates momentum. And momentum is what carries you out of stuck. Let's talk about what the first action should be. It should be the smallest possible step in the direction of your decision. You decided to leave your job, update your resume today. Email one contact, look at one job posting, something. You decided to end the relationship, have the conversation today or schedule it for this week. You decided to move, research one city, look at one apartment listing, make one call. The action doesn't have to be big, it just has to be today. Because today is what breaks the inertia. Today is what proves the decision was real. Today is what starts the momentum. Here's the resistance you face. The moment you decide and take action, your brain will offer you 1,000 reasons to reconsider. Maybe I should think about this more. Maybe I'm being rash. Maybe I should wait until some future condition. This is the last-ditch effort to keep you stuck. Don't listen. These aren't insights, they're resistance. Your brain trying to pull you back to familiar misery. Thank it for trying to protect you, and keep moving. The resistance is strongest at the beginning. If you can push through the first week, it gets easier. Let's address regret. What if I regret this decision? Here's the truth, you might. You might make this change and realize it wasn't what you wanted. You might fail, you might struggle. You might look back and wish you'd stayed. That's possible, but here's what's certain. If you don't make the decision, you will regret it. Not maybe. Certainly. You'll look back at this moment and know you had the chance to change and you didn't take it. And that regret is far worse than the regret of trying and failing. Because trying and failing means you gave yourself a chance. Staying stuck means you didn't even try. Finally, the decision isn't forever. It's for now. You're not committing to the rest of your life. You're committing to the next step. Make the decision, take the action, see what happens. You can always reassess. You can always adjust, but you can't adjust until you start moving. So make the decision for now, not forever, just for now. I will take this step. That's all. One step, one decision, one action, and then you see where it leads, but you have to start. And starting means deciding. Now. Today, make the decision. Write it down. Tell someone, take one action today. That's the exit. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what comes next. Chapter 4. The Day After. You made the decision. You took the first action. Now what? Let's talk about the day after and the week after and the first month, because this is where most people fail. They decide, they act, and then they stop. They think the hard part is over. It's not. The hard part is continuing. The hard part is building momentum. The hard part is not going back when things get difficult. So let's prepare you for what comes next. First, expect the letdown. You made the decision. You took action. You probably felt energized, powerful, like you finally took control. And then the next day comes, and you wake up and your life looks the same. You're not unstuck yet. You just started. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be still feels huge. This is the letdown. The realization that one decision and one action didn't solve everything. This is where most people quit. Don't. The letdown is normal. It's part of the process. Keep moving. Now let's talk about the next action. You need to take another action today, and tomorrow, and the next day, small actions daily. This is how momentum builds. You're creating a new pattern, a pattern of movement instead of stuckness. Each small action reinforces the decision. Each day you move forward is proof that you can. You're not trying to solve everything today. You're just taking the next step, then the next. Then the next. What's today's action? Identify it right now. And do it before the day ends. Let's address the pull back to stuck. Your old situation will call to you. It will look better than you remember. The job you hated will seem not that bad. The relationship you knew was wrong will seem safer than being alone. The city you wanted to leave will feel comfortable. This is your brain trying to restore homeostasis, trying to pull you back to familiar. Don't listen. This nostalgia for stuck is a trick. You remember why you decided to leave. Hold on to that. Write down the reasons if you need to. When the pullback happens, and it will, read your reasons. Remind yourself why you're doing this. Here's what to do with doubt. You will doubt yourself. Did I make the right decision? Should I go back? Am I being stupid? Doubt is normal, expected. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're human. Here's how to handle it. Acknowledge it. I'm doubting myself. That's okay. Then check in. Are you doubting because there's real information suggesting you made a mistake? Or are you doubting because change is hard and your brain wants to go back to comfortable? Usually it's the second, so acknowledge the doubt. Don't let it stop you, keep moving, the doubt will pass. Let's talk about support. You need people who understand what you're doing and why. People who will encourage you when it's hard, who will remind you of your reasons when you forget, who will celebrate small wins with you. If you don't have these people in your current circle, find them. Online communities, support groups, coaching, therapy, find your people. Because doing this alone is exponentially harder than doing it with support. Don't try to be strong enough to do it alone. Be smart enough to ask for help. Now the timeline, how long until you're fully unstuck, that depends on your situation. Leaving a job might take months of searching plus notice period. Ending a relationship might happen in one conversation or take months of planning. Moving to a new city might take a year of planning and saving. The point isn't speed, it's direction and consistency. As long as you're moving toward unstuck, the timeline doesn't matter. What matters is that you're moving, not stuck. Some things are slow. That's okay. Slow progress is still progress. Let's address setbacks. You will have setbacks, days where you don't take action, weeks where you feel like you're going backward, moments where you're tempted to give up. Setbacks are part of change. They're not failure, they're just part of the process. When a setback happens, don't catastrophize. Don't decide you failed and give up. Just acknowledge it. I had a setback, that happens. What's my next action? And then take it. One setback doesn't erase all forward movement, it's just a pause. Resume. Here's a crucial practice. Daily check-in. Every day for 5 minutes, check in with yourself. What action did I take today? What's my action for tomorrow? How am I feeling? What support do I need? This keeps you connected to your decision. It prevents drift back to stuck. 5 minutes every day, morning or evening, doesn't matter, just do it. This is how you maintain awareness and momentum. Write it in a journal, use your phone, whatever works. Just check in daily. Now celebrating wins. Every small step is a win. Updated your resume. Win, had the hard conversation. Win, looked at apartments in a new city. Win, applied for one job. Win. These seem small, they're not. They're proof you're moving, proof you're not stuck anymore. Acknowledge. Them, celebrate them, tell your support people, I did this today. This reinforces the new pattern. Your brain learns that taking action feels good, and it will want to do more. Don't wait for big milestones to celebrate. Celebrate the small stuff. That's where real change happens. Let's talk about identity shift. As you take action consistently, something happens. Your identity starts to change. You stop being the person who's stuck in X and start being the person who's changing X. This shift is subtle but powerful. You start seeing yourself differently. And seeing yourself differently changes what you think is possible. You're no longer stuck. You're someone who got unstuck. That's a different identity, and it creates different behavior. Notice this shift as it happens. Reinforce it. I'm someone who makes changes. I'm someone who takes action. I'm someone who gets unstuck. Say it, believe it, become it. Finally, the commitment to continue. The decision isn't one time, it's daily. Every day you recommit. Today I choose to continue moving forward. Not forever, just today. This removes the overwhelm. You're not committing to the entire journey every day, just to today's step. And then tomorrow you recommit to tomorrow's step. One day at a time, one action at a time. This is how you get unstuck, not through one dramatic leap, through daily small steps that compound. In the final chapter, we'll talk about staying unstuck permanently. Chapter 5, Staying Unstuck. You're moving, you're taking action, you're getting unstuck. Now let's make sure you don't end up stuck again. Because getting unstuck once doesn't mean you're immune to getting stuck again. You need to understand how to stay unstuck, how to keep moving, how to recognize when you're starting to get stuck and interrupt it before it becomes permanent. Let's start with awareness. Stuck sneaks up on you. It doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual. A series of small compromises. A series of choices to stay comfortable. Before you know it, you're stuck again. The way to prevent this is awareness. Regular check-ins with yourself. Am I moving forward? Or am I settling? Am I growing? Or am I stagnating? Monthly at minimum. Weekly is better. This awareness catches stuck before it becomes entrenched. Now let's talk about the signs you're getting stuck again. You stop taking action toward your goals. You start numbing with distractions more. You feel resignation or apathy. You stop dreaming. You find yourself saying maybe someday again. These are warning signs. When you notice them, it's time to course correct. Don't wait until you're fully stuck. Catch it early. Ask yourself what's happening, what am I avoiding, what needs to change, address it immediately. Small stuck is easy to fix. Big stuck is hard. Let's address comfort. Comfort is the enemy of staying unstuck. The moment you get comfortable, you stop growing, you stop pushing, you start settling. This doesn't mean you should never be comfortable, but it means you need to regularly push outside your comfort zone. Take new challenges, learn new things, meet new people, go to new places, keep expanding. Comfort is a place to rest, not a place to live. If you're too comfortable for too long, you're probably getting stuck. Here's a crucial practice. Annual life audit. Once a year, sit down and honestly assess your life. Career, relationships, health, finances, personal growth. For each area, ask, am I growing or stagnating? Am I where I want to be or settling? What needs to change? This prevents the slow drift into stuck. It forces you to look at your life honestly instead of just going through the motions. Most people never do this. They just keep living the same year over and over. Don't be most people. Audit your life. Make changes based on what you find. Now the role of goals. Without goals, you drift. Goals give you direction. They tell you what you're moving toward, but they need to be real goals, not vague wishes, specific, measurable, with timelines. I want to be happy isn't a goal. I want to transition to a career in X field by the end of the year is a goal. Set real goals, write them down, review them regularly, adjust as needed. Goals keep you moving, keep you reaching, keep you unstuck. Let's talk about relationships. The people around you shape who you become. If you're surrounded by people who are stuck, unmotivated, and settling, you'll drift toward that. If you're surrounded by people who are growing, challenging themselves, and moving forward, you'll rise. This doesn't mean abandon everyone, but it means be intentional about who you spend time with. Seek out people who inspire you, who challenge you, who remind you what's possible, and limit time with people who keep you small. Your relationships determine your trajectory. Here's another key. Continuous learning. Never stop learning, never stop growing, never decide you know enough. Read, take courses, learn skills, explore ideas. The moment you stop learning, you start dying, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Staying unstuck requires staying curious, staying engaged, staying open to new information and experiences. Make learning a lifelong practice. It keeps your mind flexible. It prevents stagnation. It keeps you moving. Now let's address the need for periodic disruption. Even good situations can become comfortable and stagnant. Sometimes you need to disrupt yourself intentionally, take a sabbatical, change jobs even when the current one is fine, move even when you're comfortable, travel, do something that shakes up your routine. This prevents the slow slide into stuck. You're disrupting before life disrupts you. You're choosing growth instead of waiting to be forced into it. This takes courage, but it keeps you alive. Alert Unstuck. Let's talk about handling the next stuck, because there will be a next stuck. Life is cycles. You'll get unstuck, you'll move forward, you'll grow. And then eventually you'll find yourself stuck again, in a new situation. A new pattern. That's okay, it's part of being human. The difference is now you know how to get unstuck. You've done it once. You can do it again. You know the signs, you know the process. Decide, act, continue. You're not helpless anymore. You have tools, use them. Finally, the commitment to yourself. The real commitment isn't to any specific situation. It's to yourself. The commitment to never settle, to never accept stuck as permanent, to always choose growth over comfort when it matters, to take the exit when you see it. This is the commitment that keeps you unstuck, not "I'll never end up stuck." That's unrealistic. But when I get stuck, I'll get myself out. That's powerful, that's agency, that's freedom. Commit to yourself, to your growth, to your aliveness, and then live that commitment every day. You know how to recognize stuck. You know how to get out, you know how to stay out. You know what to do when you get stuck again. This is mastery, not perfection, not never being stuck, but knowing how to handle stuck when it happens. And that knowledge changes everything. You're not helpless, you're not trapped, you have the exit, and now you know how to take it. Let's bring this together. You learned why you're stuck, not surface reasons, the real mechanism: fear, comfort, inertia, stories, identity, giving away power. You learned to name your stuck, the specific situation, the cost, the fear, the story, the smallest step. You learned to make the decision, real decision, writ, shared with action today. You learned what comes next. Continue daily action, handle doubt and pull back. Build momentum, celebrate wins. You learn to stay unstuck. Awareness. Life audits, goals, growth, challenge, relationships, learning. So here's what it all comes down to. You're stuck. And you know it, but stuck isn't permanent, it's a choice. A pattern, a habit, and all of those can be changed. You have the exit, it's right in front of you, it's always been there. The exit is decision plus action, that's it. Not complicated, not easy, but simple. Decide, act, continue. That's the entire formula. Right now, make one decision, just one, write it down. I have decided to action by date, sign it, date it. Then take one action today. Doesn't have to be big, just has to be movement. One call, one conversation, one application, one step, that's it. That's the exit. You're walking through it right now. Here's what happens when you do. First, fear, that's normal, then momentum. One action leads to another, then progress. Slow at first, then faster. Then one day you look back and realize you're not stuck anymore. You moved. You changed. You became someone different, someone who doesn't stay stuck, someone who takes exits. That's who you're becoming right now, with this decision, with this action. You have everything you need. You know why you're stuck. You know how to get out. You know what to do next. You know how to stay out. Now you just have to do it. Stop thinking, stop planning, stop waiting, decide, act. Today, right now, the exit is open. Walk through it. You've got this.